popped on and just said we live. Peace, everyone. How you doing? Welcome to Israel Doctrines Google Hangout. I'm your host, Carl Lambert, and you have now entered into, you know, our hangout. So what I'm gonna need y'all to do to get this information out there by sharing it on your page is hit the like button and actually share it to your social media networks. We have Dr. Enqi in the house. And so we're gonna ask him about this conscious community detox that needs to take place. Now, he has a system that he calls, soul craft. You don't know what a soul is. If you don't know what a craft is, we're gonna get into all of that and everything. But you know, Minister Dr. Enqi hasn't been around in a minute. So we now present them to you. Please share this so other people can get the link and we can all join in. You know what I'm saying? On this detox that needs to take place. We're going into 2020. We don't need the mess of yesterday here today. So, Enqi, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm alive, man. In a world full of infinite possibilities, all you can ask to do is be in attendance.
Yeah, most people don't know out of all the conscious community individuals that I actually met you, at Nasa Yashaville when I did that debate, you was a part of it, and Queen of Fool and so on and so forth. Most people forget about that debate because the footage ain't out there. But what's up, man? I ain't heard or seen from you.
The one down in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Man, yeah, they did that whole situation dirty, man.
Yeah, man,
but that whole situation dirty. They didn't want no footage to go up that didn't look the way it was supposed to look. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of these debates be staged to some extent. You know what I'm saying? Not totally staged, but if it's geared to go a certain way. Somebody is put into the debate to build up, and somebody's put in the debate to get ragdolled. You know what I'm saying? So if it doesn't go the way it's supposed to go, then shit starts to get edited or footage starts disappearing. Like it gets crazy.
Yeah. So let's just go to the beginning of the conscious community, how people came in. What you know about it?
Wait. Because people may not know. What debate are we talking about? Just for
that's the Dr. Mayat debate that we had back in, I can't even remember the year now, but it was at least 6 years ago, But
it was you versus Dr. Mayat.
Yeah.
And Unc.
Yes. And the and Ra squad, Ngozi and all the rest, but it is what it is. It is what it is. We might talk about that some more, but I would like to get into what is the conscious community? How do you know it, and what is the beginning of it? Because the name has been used for years now, but most people don't know Brooklyn. You know what I'm saying? They only know about Harlem and Sinetta and what he done brought. So could you give us an understanding of what the conscious community is?
Wow, that's a tough question to give an understanding of what the conscious community is. Today, I think the conscious community is just a collection of maybe, and I wouldn't even say a collection. I would say maybe 2 platforms, 2 YouTube pages. To be honest, I think the conscious community is 2 YouTube pages, maybe.
And who would that be? Who would that be? Those 2 pages.
I would say that the conscious community is now Sinetta's page and Rich's page.
Okay.
See, think about it. You said y'all haven't seen me in a while, right?
Correct.
Right. So that would be a further example of my point. I put up videos on a regular basis. I teach on a regular basis. You know what I'm saying? there's no months going by without. Well, actually, I did take a small hiatus, but on a regular, I'm putting videos up. Like this past spring, I might have did like 50 videos, 100 videos. You know what I'm saying? I did a marathon. You know what I mean? In the wake of the Nipsey Hussle tragedy, right? But my point is, if you're not primarily on one of those two platforms, people assume like you're not online.
You disappeared. Well, yeah.
Right. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, we haven't seen him in a while. I'm on my channel. You know what I mean? Like I'm building my platform. And I think originally the conscious community was, it was more that way. It was, everybody was teaching, working on whoever they represented, meaning their lineage in terms of information, or trying to build their own thing. So it was really information driven, as opposed to the social media consciousness, where it's really not about information or spirituality. It's just more about clickbait and views.
Well, you being one of the primary individuals to help start that or promoted and was a part of it and stuff, why didn't y'all lay a proper foundation to stabilize it so it'll last longer and not bottom out like it pretty much has?
I don't think, well, I can only speak for myself, being the first person to have 100,000 view video on this platform. I don't think anybody could have foresaw all of the turns and twists that the people that were representing the conscious community, the people that made up the conscious community, and then the platform. I don't think that anybody could have foresaw what would have eventually happened. So I think at the time, everybody was doing what they thought was the right thing to do in order to continue to put the information out, but then making the sacrifices on a personal level to be able to dedicate yourself to whatever you represent, which is the tough part that never really gets discussed, right? Because a lot of people have to 9 to 5 it, you know, and if you have children and you have a wife, a baby mom, they don't live with you, they live with you, like either way, you got your personal stuff that you have going on, and that's a struggle. That's a struggle all in of itself. Excuse my voice, everybody. I've been, since this documentary on the soul came out, it's been magazines, shout out Rolling Out magazines, been magazines, interviews, radio, shout out Knowledge, do the Knowledge Radio, but it's just been a roll, a good one. I appreciate everything, you know what I'm saying? But I've been talking a lot lately. But like I said, with the consciousness, I think that that's a struggle that a lot of people don't really mention. So this is how you can differentiate between certain people, where you see people, they come out, they have something interesting that they're talking about 3 months, 6 months, and then they disappear, versus the people that stick around 5, 10, 15 years that you've seen consistently. It is a struggle to be able to dedicate yourself, put yourself in a position where you can research, study, and teach 24 hours a day without succumbing to, assistance, public assistance, or and I mean like welfare, social security. You'd be surprised the lives of some of these people behind the scenes, or maybe you hooked on drugs and you're doing drugs to combat the ups and downs, because it's almost a certain degree of celebrity that comes along with it. So
but where was the consciousness at? This is the conscious community. They were supposed to be conscious of these things. At some point, the consciousness kicked in, didn't it?
I would say for some of us, it's stronger. It's like the Force of the Jedi. For some of us, it's stronger than others. You know what I mean? Like, and then lineage plays a role too. Like with how were you raised? You know what I mean? So I was born into this before there was a conscious community. Like when I was born, from day one, my father was teaching me, my uncles were teaching me, my older brothers, my older cousins. Like I never had the opportunity to run around with my third eye closed, so to speak.
What borough do you come from? You from New York City, right? So what part of the city you from?
I'm from 158th Street in the Bronx.
The Bronx. Oh,
yes, sir.
The Bronx.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The South Bronx.
Yeah. The
Grand Concourse, Cypress, Walton Avenue, Gerard. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Brook Ave.
The Bronx. We done heard a lot about it. We done heard a lot about it lately. You know, it's a prominent YouTuber. It's a prominent YouTuber out here that's from Bronx River. So we done heard a lot about the Bronx lately.
Well, I don't want that to be the story of the Bronx. You know what I mean? I know who you're talking about. That's not exactly. That's a story from the Bronx. You know what I'm saying? That's a story from the Bronx, but that's not the story from. You know what I mean? So that's
it's a very strong story though.
I will say this. There was a very ugly period in the Bronx. The Bronx went through a lot of struggle, and so within that period of extreme poverty and extreme violence, you had a lot of people. That extreme poverty affected a lot of people in a lot of different ways. So people were victimizers and people were victims, and then a lot of people wore both of those hats at different periods in their lives. They were victimizers and victims simultaneously. So it was a lot that went on in the Bronx. You know what I mean? It was a lot that went on in the Bronx. So.
But you know, I just had to ask where you was from to see, as you said, as you was raised, because in different boroughs, different paradigms was being laid by different individuals and different things. And it's interesting. I didn't know you was from the Bronx. So
no, let me tell you, that's not true. That's not true. Not when it's in terms of consciousness. You had waves, but every wave of consciousness that swept through New York. It wasn't like when it was the nation, it was the nation. You know what I mean? After the nation, it was the 5%. You know what I'm saying? When the 5% swept through New York, they swept through New York. Period. Like that's what it was. In the streets, in the prison systems, in schools, like that's just what it was. Like in music, you know what I mean? Like the 5% community was everywhere. You know what I'm saying? And then you had Dr. York come up after that. So and that was everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Now, post his incarceration, a lot of people try to distance themselves from that time period. You know what I'm saying? Because some people feel like it besmirches who they are today if they say, well, at that time I was reading Dr. York books, or I went to a couple of his classes, or whatever the case may be. I personally don't feel like it does. You know what I'm saying? You just like your question about if we could have foresaw what was going to happen, you could never have foreseen that. You could never have foreseen that in a million years that those events would take place. You know what I'm saying? So, but those waves of consciousness swept through the entire city. Period. Like it wasn't no people in Brooklyn that was 5% at the same time as people in the Bronx were on this type of frequency. Like, because you had extreme levels of poverty all throughout New York City. So once anybody came in with something that could give you some pride and some dignity, get some starch in your spine, not just because you had a physical prowess, but because you were mentally sharp. Women appreciate, the older people look down and say, oh yeah, that boy, yeah, he's sharp right there. Take $2 and run in the store. So then, as you got older, guys flock to you, and girls would want to, it was, everybody looked always to information, and me understanding that even led later on in life to some of the discoveries that I would make in terms of science. But I understood that at every person's core, everybody around the world, we have a predisposition that attracts us to being sapiosexual or sapiosexuals. Like, we're all attracted to information.
So, in knowing how the originators of these two networks, Sinetta TV, University, and all the different things on the House of Conscience, and Brother Rich with what's his call numbers for his channel?
Who knows? Whatever. Go ahead, though. Yeah. I got your point.
Is this where all this originated from? Y'all knew that people gravitated towards information and knowledge, and y'all was gonna be the new generation or this generation of the ones that was gonna bring it?
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's a presumption of foreshadowing events in your question, and what I'm telling you is nobody knew that. Sinetta had a table set up on 125th for years, where that was one of the two centers of information on 125th. When you came to 125th, you knew you could get your knowledge, but it was broken down into two different paths, to basically where your mind was set. On the west side, towards 8th Avenue, across from the Apollo, you got Sinetta. Sinetta got the militant, he on the militant frequency, you know what I'm saying? Towards the east side, or central Harlem, right off of Madison, is where you had the spirituality and the health information. That was Azariah. He was the flag in the ground for that information. He was the primary progenitor of that information. And then Mfudishi had his dojo upstairs, and he would allow Azariah to put events on in there. So when I first started going to 125th Street, I spent the majority of my time down on the side with Azariah, Mfudishi, and Brother Kaba, right? That's where they was at. They would do lectures there maybe twice a week. Eventually, they started letting me speak upstairs and get my toes wet, so to speak, and learn how to articulate myself in front of an audience and just learn how to teach. Learn how to articulate. And so a lot of how I teach and speak to people, I got from, I would say, a mixture of Azariah and Brother Kaba. Because it's one thing to learn, but it's another thing to be able to teach. A lot of people don't understand that teaching in and of itself is a skill.
So how did they get to these spots? Didn't it start in Brooklyn? Wasn't even York out of Brooklyn?
Yeah, but nah. Harlem has always been the center of I mean, if you look at right now, you can watch Godfather in Harlem. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You see Malcolm X was running up and down in Harlem. Like, Harlem has always been it. You know what I'm saying? Period. Harlem has always been it. That's always been the place where it was popping at. You know what I mean? Period. But New York is New York. That's why I said it's never been a wave that was just in one place. So it's not like, wow, this is going on in Harlem. It's not also, who was out there in Brooklyn? I think it was Brother Shabazz and, is that his name? Brother Shabazz? I think that might have been his name. Brother Shabazz and them down there with the Long Island College or something down there. But it was popping. I mean, they had their thing going on in Brooklyn, and they had, it was stuff going on everywhere. But the central hub where everybody meets was always Harlem. You had the 5% right there on 127th where the guards meet at. They've been there forever. I think they just got the street renamed. They've been there so long. You know what I'm saying? So it's always been 125th where everything was at. You know what I'm saying? The guards been holding 125th down for the longest. You know what I'm saying? So It's always been centralized on 125th, and that's been the hub where everybody can come and get.
Which is Dr. Ben Street now, right? They renamed that street after Dr. Ben.
It might be Dr. Ben Street.
Yeah.
I haven't been there in a
Yeah.
minute.
So, okay, we got a little bit of the origins of the conscious community and stuff now.
Right, but I don't think you can get a simple lineage in that way, because the conscious community has always been like a tribe of tribes.
Right.
So you always have different groups, and it's just people striving for self-education. You know what I'm saying? Knowledge of self. But
well, in a spiritual sense, I always call it black liberation, the study of black, gods and spirits.
No. I gotta tell you, no, that's not been it. And that's why I'm saying it's always been a tribe of tribes, because maybe there might be some people that was their ideology, but not everybody. Some people were there strictly for spiritual pursuits. Some people don't even believe that black people have been in oppression. Like, so when you talk about a conscious community, it's really a broad group from different social understandings, different political understandings, and different economic standings. Don't just assume that the conscious community is now or has been people on the lower end of the economic scale. You know what I'm saying? There's always been people, and then we get surprised if we see like Jay-Z pop up as a billionaire. He got the 5% chain on, or even Carmelo Anthony just got signed to Portland, and he rocking his 7. You know what I mean? Like, it's really, really wide.
Yeah, in our day and time, the Wu, they represent that and stuff. Some of them, even Israelites, like Killer Priest and stuff. So yeah, it's a multitude.
Right. No. The Israelite, oh man, the Israelites hold 125th Street down too. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, 125th just was that hub. You know what I'm saying? It just was a hub where people from all over the city could meet and get all of the work they wanted, however they wanted to get it. You know what I'm saying? If you wanted to come get some vegan information, if you wanted to get some soulful spiritual information, you wanted to hear the Israelites, you wanted to see the gods, you wanted to see, like, you could find all that happening right there. The nation, bean pies, like, it's all that's right there. You know what I'm saying? So that's what made 125th the center and Harlem the center, because it was like a mall for consciousness, a smorgasbord of consciousness. It was a buffet, all you could stand, all you could eat. And it's always been that way. I mean, it's kind of fading now because a lot of things are moving to online.
Right. So with this online stuff, as I heard arguments about different, people by different people, quote unquote, it was stated in a lot of videos that A.A. Rashi is the last, like, of the master teachers. It was stated that way and stuff. So what is your understanding of the master teachers and the people that they raised up? Because a lot of people believe that
I'm the black sheep of this. Listen, I'm the black sheep of this community, man. So I don't even subscribe to that master teacher type of philosophy.
Right, but I'm just saying.
I don't even get into that. So I can't even really give you a good answer to that, because I don't even know what that means. Like, I don't even know what that means. Master teacher. Like, who's handing out these titles? Like, who's handing these titles out?
I don't know.
Master teacher. You know what I'm saying? Like, who? A.A. Rashi is definitely a legend. You know what I'm saying? He wrote the foreword for my book, The Money Mind State. You know what I'm saying? He's definitely a legend. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to give paint the wrong picture. But the last of the master teachers, like, I really just don't know what that means. In my mind, a master teacher is somebody who's teaching on a subject that they have completely mastered. Right? And so if that's the case, I would say no. It's definitely still like there's nobody that do what I do better than I do it.
Yeah, well, at some point, others will rise, but at some point, if it's just one around, it's just one around. Ain't no more teachers. It's just that cat over there. I guess that's the sentiment that they was trying to say with that. That
No, I think that conversation probably stemmed from a particular lineage. This is why, again, I'm telling you that the conscious community has always been a tribe of tribes.
Right.
Right. So if you look at the lineage of Delbert Blair and Bobby Hemmett, maybe they're pushing A.A. Rashid into that lineage. But I personally wouldn't put him into that lineage. You know what I'm saying? Now, he gave a lot of credence and props to those guys, but his teachings, maybe a lot of people might not even be familiar with his teachings in depth anyway. You know what I'm saying? But I wouldn't even put him in that bag.
Yeah, I mean, unless they invest in it, because
a lot of his information was hardcore math.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like he did a lot of math. You know what I'm saying? So so I don't know. That master teacher thing is just a little weird for me. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't know what that means. You know what I'm saying? Some people were just throwing that title around because of loose associations and friendships. Some people throw that title around because of how long a person's been around. But how long someone's been around doesn't necessarily speak to their body of work. So I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, for me, Mama Pill is a master teacher. You know what I'm saying? Mama Pill is a master teacher. Annette Thomas. You know what I'm saying? She was actually the first person to reverse somebody's HIV or AIDS status. You know what I'm saying? Out of
well, was it her? Was it Dr. Sebi? Let's get into your relationship with the Sebi family, the Peel family, and
well, no. I'm telling you now, like that would be a master teacher for me. You see what I'm saying? Like, so that's where I'm saying, like, it just gets weird, that whole master teacher title. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but you made a statement now. I'm just trying to get you to clarify that it was either Sebi who was the first to cure, or it was Mama Pill, or it was a combination of the two.
No. It was definitely Mama Pill, but she was using Sebi's protocols, formulas, and herbs. But the way Sebi's camp was set up at the time, they were very organized and refined. So when somebody would call for a consultation or they needed help, somebody from the team would take the protocols and be dispatched to go help the person. And she just happened to be the one to get that first initial call. So it's not like she was a separate, she was separate from Sebi or doing some stuff. She just was the first person from his team to get dispatched to the person. Because remember, initially when AIDS first hit, nobody really knew what it was. So she was the first person to be dispatched to somebody that they would later find out that's what the person had.
Okay. But he was the one that had to go to court and do all this and everything. Tell us about your relationship once again with the Sebi family, the Peel family, and
no. Actually, no. In those court papers, because I kind of did a bunch of videos going over those court papers. She was his co-defendant, so she was there every step of the way.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not like he was the only one.
Well, I don't know. I'm waiting for Nick to drop the documentary. Rest in peace to Nipsey. He didn't get a chance to do it, but Nick said he gonna pick it up. So,
Actually, yeah. So it's already a lot of information out there. Shout out Nick. Shout out Mr. G. Shout out KT. Shout out everybody. Let's leave meat on the table for that. You know what I'm saying? Let's leave meat on the table for that. Let's go back to your conscious community thing.
Well, that's a big part of it, because Polite said that was pretty much his master teacher. York was his master teacher. These are terms he used and stuff, however he defined what a master teacher is. These are people he say got him started in the intellectual realm of being conscious and stuff. And you polite pretty much, was rubbing shoulders for a long time, and the rest of the conscious community. So, like I said, if you could tell us a little bit about those relationships and your relationship to these people, just a little bit. We don't need much. We don't need the documentary role, but if you could tell us a little bit about it.
Right. Well, I don't want people to assume, I met Polite in Ali Muhammad's class, and Polite was talking about publishing his own books. So that's where our relationship started. I had a book that I had already written previously, maybe 5-8 years before I met any of these people. And I was sending it to different publishers, and they were sending me the book back saying the book was too racy. The book was too racy. It was too much, too controversial. They couldn't publish it. So when he said he was publishing his own books, I waited to the end of the lecture, the class, and I was like, yo, what's the price and the number? Like, I just need to know how much and how fast you could print mine. You know what I mean? And so that was the beginning of that relationship. In terms of Mama Pill, that relationship started through the pill KT. Me and KT, we just got all three of us. We just had different relationships. You know what I'm saying? Me and Blue will kind of talk about Blue Pill and Red Pill are twins, but they're really different. You know what I'm saying? So me and Blue would have conversations about, I don't know, mushrooms and ayahuasca, and me and Blue would have conversations out there off the deep end. And then we would talk about music, and because Blue has a rich background in music. You know what I'm saying? So we would talk about that. Me and Red Pill we kind of did our street thing together. So we got a different story. Yeah. So that's where that is.
So let me just ask this.
Got a different type of story. Then hold on. Then KT. Me and KT really got close, and mentally, we just was on such a strong, we just clicked, put it like that. You know what I'm saying? To the point where he drove me to the hospital to have my twins, and me and him just have, so it just was different. But then her being their mother, you know what I'm saying? I'm at the house all the time. So it's just an extension of my relationship with her sons. And then we got tight on our own, me and Mama Pill, based on me just always, being so hungry for the information. You know what I'm saying? And then her being who she is, she's just a teacher. She's a teacher, she's a mother of mothers. You know what I mean? So she's gonna feed you if you're hungry. You know what I'm saying? For whatever it is, she gonna feed you. You know what I mean? And so I'm always a student first. You know what I'm saying? No matter how much I learn, no matter how much I teach, I'm always gonna be a student. That's why, going back to that question with the master teacher thing, I don't really believe in that, because the moment you stop being a student, your time being a teacher is limited, because you no longer a real teacher. You pour into the people that you're teaching. You pour into. You give them your all. So the moment you stop learning, you're going to stop having things to teach. And so as soon as you get that, and that's why you can look at certain people's books or their videos, and you can see almost when they stop learning, because they begin to be dated, and they have two choices at that point. Either they go backwards and start repeating themselves, and it just kind of fizzles out, or they switch subjects and they just start talking about irrelevant shit. You know what I'm saying? But the people that are able to stick around and continue to supply people with worthwhile information are they're able to do that because they are active students somewhere. They're still learning somewhere, so they're still getting deeper levels of insight. They're still getting new inspiration to then turn around and convert that inspiration into the ability to inspire.
Okay, well, like I said, let me ask this question because people want to know things, and you in a privy position to know some things and
Right,
stuff.
but I don't want to spend my time on your show talking about other people.
Okay, well, I mean, it's your relationship with them for what I feel like I'm asking. So if you want to deal
True.
with it,
No, I understand what you're saying. People are curious, but I don't want to waste. Like I don't want to. For instance, I don't want to spend an hour, 2 hours on your show, and then I leave your show, and all I spoke about was other people.
oh no, you here to talk about
your audience is not going to get.
No, you here
You know
to
what I'm
talk
saying? Like,
about what you doing now. Like people don't know what you're doing now. They here to listen and get that information too. So
okay.
you know, I don't know how long you want to stay. We've been here pretty much an hour, I guess, and I don't know, you may be limited in time. I don't know. We really didn't speak, so we just going off a whim. So
Yeah.
if you feel something is something, whatever you need.
No. Come on. I just want to make sure that we can really get some good information in for the family as well. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't want to just gossip.
Well, let's just go into where you at now. You dealing with soulcraft, right? Is that the name of what you're dealing with nowadays?
That's the documentary on the soul right now. It's a book, and what I'm doing that's unique is as I'm writing the book, I'm releasing audio of each chapter as I'm writing the book. So I'm literally writing the book with the community, with the people.
And that's free on your YouTube page, right?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Could you give us that address and
Dr. Enqi. Just all you guys just type in Dr. Enqi on YouTube, or just type in Soulcraft. Yeah, it's only on one channel. It's copywritten, so niggas can't, swag jack this one.
So what's that term all about? I know what a soul is. I know what a craft is. Could you explain to the people though your understanding and why you came up with the word?
Well, actually, I didn't come up with it per se as much as it was. It's just an actual term, right? So if you look into some of our ancient sciences, I would say the term is there. And fast forward to what we're doing now, I feel like we live in a day and time where spirituality is dead. Even the people that are supposed to be conscious, like there's not really a conscious community. That's why when you asked me that earlier, I said there's just two platforms. You know what I'm saying? There's not really a conscious community. And on those two platforms, there's not really much consciousness, right? You have a lot of conversation about pop culture on one channel, and then the other channel you have arguments, right? Which have already been settled. You know what I'm saying? But the pop culture conversation, as well as the back and forth banter, do well for views. You know what I'm saying? But for people that are trying to feed their soul, build their spirit, there's nothing for those people.
So exactly what do you mean when you use those terms, soul, spirit?
Okay, so are you asking me what is a soul?
Yeah, when you use the term soul, what definition you
No, but I just want you to be straightforward with it. Right. I don't want you to ask me in a roundabout way. So are you asking me
what's a soul, what's a spirit when you use those terms? How should people look at the terminology?
Okay, so let me ask you a question. From your understanding, what is a soul and a spirit?
A soul is your body. It's the actual thing that you reside in. Your spirit is,
So your physical body is your soul.
yeah, at Genesis 2 and 7. And God created Adam from the dust of the ground. He created a body, put the breath of life in him, and he became a living soul. He became a living soul. The dust that came from the ground, the body that was created, was activated and made a living soul. That's how I deal with it.
Okay. Okay. I deal with it slightly different in terms of Genesis chapter 2, verse 7, right? Because when you look at Genesis chapter 2, verse 7, there's some pieces, and I actually talk about Genesis chapter 2, verse 7 in, I think it's chapter 2 of the Soul Craft. So I think there's a piece, there's some small pieces there that we miss, right? Because if we go, and this is kind of one of the ways that conversations like this have led to ridicule and has pushed people away to a point where people aren't really studying the soul in a real kind of way. Because if we just say God blew the breath of life into like a pile of dust from the ground, then it becomes relegated to myth. It becomes relegated to something that's not possible, because we know that there's nobody that can take a handful of dirt and blow breath into it, and then something living jumps out of their hand. Like, we just know that that's not correct.
Yeah, well, a
Right.
human is, we vast. We made of organs. We made of all kind of minerals and materials and stuff. But the source of it is it came from the ground.
Right. But you do understand that nobody's capable of blowing on dirt and making it into a living anything,
Well, I
right?
mean, I say God is capable of whatever, and He's not a person. He's not one of us. We're not capable of doing certain things, but a
Okay, but
supernatural being.
okay, supernatural being. So would a supernatural being have lips and lungs?
Well, we made in this image, so if I got lips and lungs, He got the same imagery of me.
He. So it's a he. Just a
Yeah,
family
male
for the
deity.
record.
He's called a father. He's called a male.
I got you. I'm not debating. I'm not
Yeah,
necessarily debating you. I'm just asking questions to get your understanding. So he has lips and lungs.
yeah. He got a similar makeup to me. I'm created in this image, in this likeness, not after his
Okay.
kind. His kind is heavenly, spiritual, celestial, and I'm terrestrial, flesh and blood. Not
Wait. When you say his kind is celestial, not terrestrial, so that means that his kind lives not on the terrestrial planet.
no. I don't mean they can live on either one, but his he is
When
a
you say either
heavenly,
one, it would be the terrestrial planet, or what's the other space? The celestial. And
celestial,
where is that?
celestial, beyond gravity and beyond
Okay.
what we know space, because our knowledge is limited. For us, what I've come to find out that there's three levels of what we know or call heaven, or whatever the other terminologies for the heavens.
So beyond gravity, beyond heaven. So that would be outer space.
Right. The sun is in the celestial realm. The
Okay,
moon is
got
in the
you. So,
celestial. The stars is in the celestial.
so when you say a man made like you, so you're saying that this man is capable of living in the sun or near the sun?
Beyond the sun. If it's three levels, earth is a level, the celestial, known as the heavens, in which the sun, moon, and stars dwell in, is one. And then that's another level. From my knowledge, the third heaven is three. For as I'm, you know. in the know about.
Right, because you do realize, like, so the lungs, you got lungs, you have a heart, right? You have lungs and a heart, you have blood, circulatory system. So this man made in the exact same image as you and I live.
Well, we made in his image. He not made in ours. We made in his, but
okay, that's fine. Maybe my bad. So we're made in his image. So made in his image, and I would assume he doesn't make mistakes, correct?
Nah, he got a plan A to Z.
Right. So you do realize that your lungs and your heart, like your body, doesn't work outside of this atmosphere.
Correct. We like fish out of water if we leave this atmosphere. That's why we don't go to the celestial like that. If we do, we use mechanisms to ensure our lives beyond this terrestrial plane. But you know, the soul is the body. That's all I was saying. I was just trying to see what position you took or how you dealt with it. Some people say the soul is in the body and not the body itself. I was just for my own reference, and then if anybody else wanted to make a reference. You still with us? I don't know. I think he might have fell off, y'all. One sec. Might have hanged up on him, but I'm gonna call him back. We didn't have a volume, so. But soulcraft, that's what he's dealing with. He's dealing with, for as I'm aware of, the body in the craft.
Yeah, hello?
Yeah, what's up? What's up? So.
Okay, yeah. So I don't know if that was my line or yours. But so all right, so we have a man that lives beyond the star. So wait, give me that third level, because you said there's one level which is the terrestrial level we on. Then the next level would be where the stars are, like the sun and the other
then
stars.
beyond that. So man has only been able to go so far in the galaxy. Don't nobody know how long, if it's one galaxy, two galaxies, but the biblical reference that I'm using, Paul.
Hold on. The deeper you go into the galaxy, it's more stars and planets. It's not like a different type of galaxy.
Right. You know, every constellation, blah blah, its own planet, the stars, and everything that.
Right. So when you say there's a third level beyond that, what would that mean?
Well, I mean, we really haven't got any details of what it is, but when Paul said, I saw one caught up to the third heaven, you know, some people said 7. He said he's seen a third. Is there a 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th? I don't know. But I know that from his reference, there's 3.
So what you're saying is like, so these guys use spaceships and UFOs to travel there.
No, because they're not human. If we was made like them, we're not like them and they're not like us.
Wait a minute.
We're made in.
We were made
in their image.
Like them, but we're not like them?
Yeah, image wise, not substance wise. So they're of a different substance than us. But we made like them for their image and likeness, not their substance. We're not the same kind.
Why would they need lungs?
I don't know why they would need lungs. But for as I'm concerned, there's 3 celestial bodies just like sun, moon, and star, right? So the Father, he never left God body. Jesus left God body, became man, and went back to God body. So whatever we like or whatever we was, he was created just like us. And then he changed the substance of what he was created as, flesh and blood. and he became another type of spiritual being. Then you have angels, those three celestial type of bodies right there.
All right, so here's where the rubber meets the road, right? So, and this is no offense, but I think that over the years when we didn't have the means to verify some of these texts scientifically, right? And then as we develop the means to understand some of these things, a lot of us don't put in the time and study. And so over the years, a lot of what our ancestors left us in terms of text, whether it's the Bible, the Quran, coffin text, pyramid text,
Still there? I think it's
yeah, hello?
Yeah. Thought your phone went out again.
No. I got people in my house bugging.
Okay.
But over the years, these texts, right? People just where we didn't understand what it was telling us, we just added things in to roll it over and keep the information moving forward, but it created gaps in our understanding, and then we kind of just fill those in with things like I don't want to say gobbledygook, but just blank spots that we have made it a habit to gloss over, right? And we don't have to do that anymore. So we look at Genesis chapter 2, verse 7, right? It says the Lord God formed, right? So you stop right there, formed. That's one of the places where people gloss over, right? Because if we talk about form implies shape and geometry, right? So if we talk about the dust of the ground, we know the dust of the ground includes minerals, etc., atoms, elements, all of those things. Well, when you put atoms together in a particular geometric shape, the generic term for the crystal lattice structure, which all of biology shares, when you create that shape, that form, right? And in the Quran, they use a word that adds more detail. It's called proportion. When you create that geometric shape, that allows for what we know of as bioelectricity, bioluminescence, chemiluminescence, those things to take place, right? And if we look at atoms, right, a lot of times when we hear breath, we automatically assume breath relates to oxygen, which relates to lungs, right? But breath is really the exchange of gases. When we look at gases, we go back to atoms again. So if we look at atoms breathe, but they don't breathe oxygen. Atoms breathe in light. Atoms inhale photons, so to speak, and they exhale photons. They absorb photons and they re-release those photons. So now, if we go back to Genesis chapter 2, verse 7, and we see God, and we use God as an intelligent source of information, right? We don't put God in a weird place. We just make God an intelligent source of information, because you have to have an intelligent source of information before you can get atoms arranged in the prerequisite geometry to support light and life or bioelectricity, right? So once we add that geometry in, right, now we have this crystal lattice structure. Then you have the ability to sustain life. Once you have that, now you can look at Genesis chapter 2, verse 7 in a totally different way. God is an intelligent source of information that created the crystal lattice structure out of atoms that allow for those atoms to start to absorb and radiate light. And that light, as then as it is now, is what we know of as the soul. So when you look at electromagnetism, electricity is generated from friction or vibration. When that electricity then radiates outside of the medium it's created in, that is light. But that light is also the information. And all information, even with our modern technology, is stored in magnetic fields. That's how information is stored, right? So now we can say to ourselves, this makes much more sense. And then if you look, you have light, electricity, magnetism. You have an actual trinity, right, that we can study and quantize. If you look at the human body, to go more specific, right, we can jump straight to the heart. The heart has a magnetic field by some estimates 5,000 times stronger than the human brain, right? This magnetic field is what stores all of the information this is why our ancestors had a weighing of the heart ceremony. And this is why there was a dichotomy between the heart and the brain. The brain accesses the magnetic field, the heart generates it, right? So if we put our time in to study, a lot of these things that people relegated to myth or mnemonic device, we will be able to start to uncover the science that our ancestors really left for us. Because we can't look back at people who built civilization. We can't look back at people who built pyramids. We can't look back at these people and say that they weren't scientifically astute, even more so than we are today. The problem is being able to spend time with what they left us to pull out the information thus encoded, right? So that's just the way we look at the soul in a more
yeah, that's craft system stuff though, right? Because the whole craft system.
The craft is about building. The craft is about building the soul. Once you identify your soul, right, as being the light emanating from the plasma, the four ventricles of the brain sits in, to make it more specific, right? Once you identify the soul, and then you identify your spirit as the magnetic field that houses that information that is you, right? Once you identify those, then you understand your purpose in life is to build those and make those stronger, right? And as you build those and make those stronger, you move closer and closer to being able to have a successful transition from this world to the next, right? So once you understand those on that level, then you're able to see why you should make certain decisions, right? So then it becomes more of you have more of a reason why you would morally stand upright, why you would treat people a certain way, why you would treat yourself a certain way and not eat certain things or avoid this, or there becomes a realistic instead of just a trend.
Ecosystem.
I talk to a lot of people about their diet, and a lot of people don't know why they should really change their diet outside of, because people that are maybe 40, 50, or even in their late 30s that are dealing with certain issues, they change their diet to deal with the issues. But when you're speaking to 20-year-olds that have no issues, there has to be there's a different conversation when you're talking to them about lifestyle changes, right? And this is one of the reasons why we keep losing, like we just lost Juice for like the youth. They don't really understand the why. They think that life happened by mistake. So I don't want you to think that I'm a person that beats up on the Bible or beats up on the concept of God or the soul or spirit, etc. I'm just one of the people that take my time with it until I thoroughly understand what it is that I'm speaking on.
Well, you're trying to find the cause to the effect, right?
No, not trying to. We've located, we totally understand what the soul and the spirit is now. The game is to teach other people so that people will learn and then have a renewed vigor about whatever it is that they've already been doing. Like, I don't want to turn people away and create a following to follow me and say, come out of the church, come follow me. Come out of the synagogue, come follow me.
Yeah, but you're trying to deal with a holistic paradigm, right? Fixing the whole of man.
Correct.
Soul,
and
land,
it's a
spirit.
paradigm shift. You're right. And it's a paradigm shift. It's breathtaking when you really take if you review the last 10 minutes of this show, you will see how impactful what I just gave you was. Because now you have the ability to really look at your scriptures and say, oh, now I have solid footing to stand on. Nobody can challenge what it is that I'm bringing to the table because this is real.
Yeah.
This is real. I can scientifically prove this in any place, on any condition. I can stand on my square.
This is cause and effect, though, right?
Like,
because if you got an effect of something, something is happening, something is causing it to happen. Correct?
No. I got you. But what I'm saying is we can move past the place, right? I understand what you're saying, but what I'm trying to get across to you is now we can move past the place where we have to say, God blew the breath into dirt, and then the dirt turned into, and then God disappeared and went past the stars into a third world, but he didn't use a spaceship to get there, even though he had lungs, and we know lungs don't work once you leave this atmosphere. Like we don't have to have a storyline that has gaps, because our ancestors were smarter than that. Our ancestors.
I feel you, but you inserted lungs. I don't know if God got lungs and if they're active lungs to have to breathe oxygen out of space.
Because in order to blow, you have to see blowing. See, so if you look at language is used a certain way. That's why words are categorized a certain way. You have nouns, pronouns, adjectives. So when you put a certain adjective on something, that adjective describes other things that don't necessarily have to be mentioned. Right. So if I'm saying that you're running, I don't have to say that Israel's doctrine has legs. Those legs are attached to his hips. Like, I don't have to say all that. Once I say he's running, people automatically understand that you have legs, etc., etc. So when I say blowing, right, that means that you have lips, you have a throat.
But there's literal and figurative speech. So if I say, what's up, dog? I'm not talking to a dog. I'm talking to a human being.
True.
And
True. But listen to what I'm saying. You can't have a literal thing happen. You can't have an actual thing happen and use figurative language to describe the actual thing, not in a scientific way. So we're talking about an actual person being created. We can't use figurative language to scientifically describe an actual thing. And if we do, it's cool, but people won't respect it. And that's where we are right now, where people don't.
Because everybody's not initiated into the craft system, though. Most
is
you
don't
supposed to
need
be
to
young.
initiated into a craft system to understand what I'm saying. That's why I'm giving people the plain science, so that you don't have to be initiated into any specific system to understand your soul. That is the biggest birthright that we have. If you don't know what your soul is, your life it's void. And that's what we have.
That's kind of vain saying you're dealing with a soul craft, though, if it's not a craft system to heal the soul.
See, you have a predisposition to turning craft into something more than it may be.
Well, that's why I was asking what is soul and what is craft.
What you're turning craft into is fraternity. And I'm a big fan of fraternity. I belong to fraternity. But craft does not always denote fraternity.
I'm talking about ability, though, more than if no one else has the ability to know.
I'm just sharpening you up so you know. I don't want you to, every time you hear the term craft, you think fraternity.
Right, but that's what I'm saying.
Craft,
I'm talking ability. I'm talking
like
ability more than a fraternal system.
Right, but ability has nothing to do with craft. You understand what I'm saying? Like, if we look up the definition for the term craft, you see what I'm saying? That there's a euphemistic way we use words, and then there's the actual way we should use the words. So when I'm saying craft, I'm telling you what the craft means. But the first thing to do is you have to accurately identify what your soul or consciousness is. So I can't say The soul craft is the science of building the soul and the spirit without having accurately identified that which we're working on building. Right? I can't say we're building houses if I don't know what a house is. Right? So
that's why I asked about the terminology to make sure people understood you completely of what you were saying.
Gotcha. We're on the same page. I just don't want you to, like, once you bring in the term initiation, right? You brought in the term initiation.
Correct.
Initiation denotes fraternal order, and it gives people the impression that they have to be initiated before they can understand what their soul is. And what I'm saying is that's not that.
You can say that's correct, but it's due to the fact that when the student is ready, the teacher will come. And if the teacher ain't come, the student is not ready. So the student has to be dealt with.
Wait a minute.
Initially,
do you realize I just explained it on your show?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, so right. So what I'm saying is we've moved out of that phase of like the mumbo jump, like the unclear. Like we're no longer there where things are unclear and not evident. We're moving into 2020. Clear vision. 2020. We're moving into 2020. This is the time where everybody needs to see clearly. 2020.
Yeah. You trying to make it more common sense and make it more common, right?
Absolutely. Not more common. I'm trying to make it known, because it's not something that's uncommon. No one knows this at all.
Well, I'm listening. Explain more.
Well, the core of it is in the interaction of electricity, light, and magnetism. Right? That's the core of it. Right? And we spent a lot of time, in fact, going back to Dr. Sebi had to go to court and everything else to establish in people's minds and hearts that our bodies were electric. And because of that, we needed electric food. Right? And even still to this day, many people don't fully understand that. They don't understand the difference between acids and acidic. Right? They don't understand
what's the
what
difference
an alkaline is.
Explain some of that, since they don't know.
Oh, okay. So when you look at your body, right, your body has two different aspects to it. It's like two different super basic. I like to make everything as basic and plain as possible. So that way we don't get caught up in as much. I try to eliminate as much as possible the scientific jargon, right? Because the scientific jargon gets just as crazy as the mythological jargon, then we just not going anywhere, right? So you have two basic aspects to your body. You have the physical part of your body, right, which you can touch, and then you have the energy part of your body, right? That gives you energy to move around and do what you do, right? The physical part of your body, your skin, your bones, your nails, your hair, your eyes, you know what I'm saying? Your melanin, right? Your pineal gland, for the people that get excited when they hear those two words. Melanin, pineal gland, right? All of these things are constructed from acids, fatty acids and amino acids, right? Now, an acid, and anybody that has their computer open, they can kind of Google some of this stuff to, if they want to make sure they have references or back, if they need, they need to really understand what I'm saying. But when you look up an acid, it is either the definitions are usually like an electron stealer, right? An electron stealer, or sometimes the inverse is there and it says a proton donor. right? But it basically means the same thing. It takes electrons away from things, right? It takes electrons away from things. And so that's what your body is made out of. Your body is made out of acid, so your body requires electrons to run. That's just the structure, right? Now, you also have the flip side, which is alkalines or base. Base is a substance that donates electrons. So the understanding of the alkaline or base in terms of diet is because your body is constructed from acid primarily, you require alkaline or base foods to feed that acid structure the electrons, the electricity that it needs to animate itself, right? So, but you also have to consume those acids to allow your body to replace and fortify the structure part also, right? But the difference between acid and acidic or acid forming is when you're eating foods that steal electrons versus like if I'm eating algae, right? If I'm eating some algae from from the ocean that gives my body DHA, which they say you only can get from fish, but the fish are actually getting it from plants, and that's a whole nother conversation. But so if I'm getting DHA is a fatty acid, right? Omega-3s. Omega-3s are fatty acids. Those are not acidic or acid forming. Those are not going to steal electrons from my body. It's not going to make me sick or weak, right? It's going to fortify the structure in my body, right? So those are some of the smaller nuances in that conversation that people get lost with. And this is why there are some things in the vegan community that people are still struggling with because they're missing certain aspects of their nutrition just because they don't stay in the studio long enough. You know what I'm saying? That's how I talk. When I talk about the studio, I'm talking about the library. We don't study long enough. So you'll hear me say that from time to time. We don't stay in the studio long enough, right? So in terms of that aspect of our body, that is the relationship of alkaline and the body being electric, etc. Now, we know there's a relationship of electricity to radiation and magnetism, right? They all three are birds of a feather, meaning you can't have electricity without magnetism. You can't have magnetism without electricity. So the next level to the understanding is once we understand and we get scientifically grounded in the fact that our body is electric, we have to understand that your body being electric is projecting a magnetic field. Like that's just a scientific fact. We can't accept that our body is electric without accepting that our body is projecting a magnetic field. Period. End of discussion. Like that. Those two things are part and parcel. They roll together. Right? Now, if we look around and we get a little rudimentary understanding of magnetic field, we say, oh, okay, well, if everybody pulls out their debit card or their credit card, there's a black strip on it. That black strip is a magnetic strip. That magnetic strip is holding all the information to your account. The rest of the card is just plastic. Nothing's there. All your information is stored in that magnetic strip. If we open up the cell phones, if we open up the computers, the laptops, the tablets, and we get to the hard drives, we will notice that all of those hard drives are magnetic. So all the information stored in your computer is stored in the magnetic field because that is the nature of magnetism. It stores information, right? So now it begins to make sense. And then if we understand a little bit about the anatomy, right? Just a little bit about the anatomy, right? And then we go back to some of our better, our more scientifically astute ancestors back in Kemet, and we see, okay, well, they pulled out the organs, but they left the heart in place, and they kind of gave you the education then. They even had two different words to describe the heart. You had heti and then you had the ib. The ib was the magnetic field generated by the heart, which was the seat of conscience and intelligence, etc., as opposed to the physical heart that's, four chambers circulating blood back and forth to, totally different, they had two different words to describe these things so when they addressed one, so this was common knowledge then, right? For anybody that was educated, this was common knowledge, right? And we have to get back to the point where it's common knowledge for us. Now that we have magnetoencephalograms and all kinds of different technology, we can say, wow, okay, well, the heart produces the strongest magnetic field of the body. And in fact, it's 5,000 times stronger than the brain's magnetic field. Okay, now we get it. Because now they can measure the magnetic field being emitted by the heart. So now that these things are measurable and tangible, it's like, oh, okay, so what was my ancestor? Oh, okay. So this is why when we go through even the Bible over and over, the Bible tells you that God is light. It's there. Over and over, God is light.
Well, this is what people deal with solar energy, solar minds, and solar.
Well, light is information. And it's information that arranges. See, we go back to Genesis chapter 2, verse 7. Light is information. It's information that's required to create life. So when you see it written there, right there, plain as day, and they're describing the crystal lattice structure, the problem with 99% of the world is, of the people who are reading the Bible, they don't understand the electromagnetic interactions of, how atoms are arranged into crystal lattice structures. They don't get that. So when they read Genesis chapter 2, verse 7, they're not going to see that present themselves. And that really is the definition of what I would say when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. It's not necessarily something that wasn't there appearing. It's the mind of the level of the perceiver being able to see what's right in front of them. Because I have books in my library. I'll give you another example. I have books in my library that I read maybe every year. I read them again. And the reason being is because as my mind grows, as I become sharper and more astute, every time I go back and read the book, I get new insight, new information. And it's not the actual book changing. It's me. I'm changing. I'm growing. So as I grow and my mind grows and I have more life experience to pull from, my vocabulary changes, my contextual understanding of certain things changes. When I go back and read the same book, it's almost like a brand new book. And I know that the book hasn't changed. So the only thing that's brand new is me. So that's really the understanding of when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. It's not like as soon as you get ready, poof, Aladdin pops out of the, no, it's more about your perceptual awareness being at a certain level where now you can see and understand certain things. And they start to click and make sense in your mind. And you're like, oh, okay, now I see where we're going with this.
Light bulb turned on. Your light bulb come on.
Yeah. Your light bulb come on. That's a super simple way. I like that. Yeah, that's the best. You made it plain right there. The light bulb come on. Pun intended. You know what I'm saying? Your light bulb come on. So that's just where we are with that. And then being able to, once properly identifying and saying, okay, so this is where the consciousness or the soul resides. It is the light, the information coming up out of the plasma that the actual brain and spine sit in, right? Once being able to identify that, then it is the biochemical reality to the or the biochemical analog to the electromagnetic reality, right? So everything that's happening in a sense of energy or electromagnetism, we talk about light, electricity, and magnetism, has a biochemical basis, right? So when we look at that biochemical basis, it basically centers on phosphorus. And this is one of the main things that separates us from the primates, right?
Well, how do we build an ecosystem to better,
Hold on. Let me just say this piece about the primates, right? Because I was the first one to debunk this whole evolution thing. You know what I'm saying? Later on, people jumped on the wave. Like that's what I do in this consciousness. I create waves and other niggas just pull out surfboards. You heard? So one of the main reasons why I never subscribed to it is because I knew that mitochondrial distribution was different. Meaning, when you look at the primates, the majority of their mitochondria is in their skeletal muscle, right? But when you look at us, that's not the case. We're the exact opposite. The majority of our mitochondria is in our heart and in our brain. And the purpose of mitochondria, the end of the deal, so to speak, or the bag, or the reason, the benefit to having mitochondria living in and off of us, right? Living in and off of us, because they're a separate organism, is because they are able to recycle phosphorus for us. Phosphorus for us, pun intended. But they're able to recycle phosphorus for us. And without them, we would probably be able to, like, we can produce in the same time as the phosphorus gives us, what is that, 38 electrons, we produce 5. Something to that effect. The math is something to that effect. So it's almost like 10 times the amount of phosphorus being recycled or produced via mitochondria that we can do on our own. And so understanding how phosphorus was actually utilized. So you have an adenosine triphosphate, and we actually fluoresce, we light up, we combust the phosphorus on that adenosine triphosphate, and the energy released, right, which is radiation, light, is what we use to power our biochemistry as well as cellular communication. And then the mitochondria just recycles that, right? Just constantly recycles that. But the electron transport chain that we talk about in terms of food metabolism and the food we break and eat, breaks down to the mitochondria, to the electron transport chain. That electron transport chain is in the mitochondria. So we talk about that whole aspect of the electron, that's in mitochondria. But once we get a hold of the fact that we're separate from them, they live in our cells, but they're separate organisms, then we have to say, okay, let's take that off the table. What are our cells? How are our cells powered? And then we understand that it's just light. And so that right there was a part of an epiphany that led all the way down this road to where we are today.
So you mentioned that while you writing it, you also putting it to audio. You mentioned the YouTube channel, Dr. Enqi, type in Soul Craft. How many chapters do you have out there? However you.
Oh, so far I wrote the foreword and released the foreword. I did chapter 1. And then I did chapter 2, and I'm gonna try to have chapter 3 out between now and Christmas. I'm gonna try to have chapter 3 out before Christmas. But it's challenging. You know what I'm saying? It's challenging to write a book and at the same time try to create audio for the book, and then the audio what I do with the audio is I try to give a really good visual presentation to the audio. So what I'm trying to do with the audio is not just necessarily, like give people a dead audio where I'm reading. You know what I'm saying? What I'm trying to do is go beyond what I'm saying and give you visuals that will create further understanding or simplify what I'm saying. Because a lot of times there's no way for me to get around certain scientific terms, and I know I lose people at times. So I try to use the visual to give aid to what I'm saying to further bring home all of the points so that people can, so that it makes a lot of sense for people and it's really easy. And I use my children, I talk with them, and I have 5 children that I raised from ages 4 to 10. So I sit down with them and I talk to them with these concepts, and we go through the visuals, and I'm like, what do you think about this? And what do you think about that? And sometimes they're like, no, Dad, that's whack, Dad. There's no drip. You know what I mean? And then I'm like, all right, well, let's swag it up for me. You know what I mean? And they'll help. They really put a lot of input into it.
So in Black environments, though, some they get the government benefits and different stuff. How do they build these, like I said, ecosystems where they can flourish in them? If you can speak on that a little bit. Eco. I say both of them.
Okay, you said eco, but then you said
ecosystem for us.
Ecosystem is basically a biological environment where different types of organisms live together,
right?
Kind of codependent.
And so a culture or society has its own, what you could call ecosystem.
Or are you talking about ecosystem or economic system?
Eco.
Okay. And so what I think okay, if that's the question, I think nature presents us with a solid answer.
Yeah, but we create our own environments.
With a solid answer.
In your home.
No, I got you. I got you. Hold on. Oh, all right. So are you talking about in the home, or are you talking about in society?
Our environment. We create our own environment. Like if I got toxic friends in my system, it's because I introduced them to my system and I introduced them to my life. If I got bad foods, it's because I introduced them. It's not because they're incapable of being purchased or attained. You see what I'm saying? So if one wants a good system that's clean with less headaches and people doing this and doing that, how do one go about cleaning their environment up or cleaning their ecosystem up where they can strive in areas where they're lacking that?
Okay, got you. All right. So the first thing, Hosea 4:6. I know you know Hosea 4:6, right?
I ain't read it in a minute, so I don't know exactly what's written. But inform me.
Hosea 4:6. My people are dying for a lack of knowledge.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And not just because of a lack of knowledge, but because they rejected knowledge. Right? So that's the first thing and the most important thing if you're asking me. Information comes first. Information comes first. We have to know better before we can do better. Right? And then once we get the information, then the second part is just to work on yourself. And I include your children as part of self. Right? So I don't want people to think you inside your house and it's weird. No. Your children, your significant other, whatever, your nuclear household, that's self. right? So the first thing is information first. You have to understand what it is that you're doing and the why, right? And then become an example of that to the point where you can teach that. Once you become an example where you can teach, at that point, everything is on autopilot because we have a natural disposition to acquiring and sharing information. That is the point of life. That is literally the point of life. So your physical body is acquiring information, sharing that information with the environment all the time. That's the essence of horizontal gene transfer, right? But then your solar body is supposed to go on and share that information with the stellar environment. So there's two parts to it, right? There's two parts to it, but it's based on information while we're here, just to make it more simple, right? Because every concept that goes just outside of people's understanding stops them or limits them from taking in the rest of it. So I try to limit myself to what, I try to keep it simple. But the whole purpose of life is information. This is why everybody's attracted to information. And it's been that way since the beginning of time. The chief in the tribe is the guy that sits around and tells the stories. Right? Everybody's attracted to that. When we look in our circles and we see an alpha female, right? It's easy for us to tell who's the alpha female 9 out of 10 times because that's the one everybody in that circle follows. It's easy for us to tell who's the alpha male because that's the one who the people in that circle follow, right? Because we're following information. Information is leadership. When we get upset with our leadership, it's because we feel like they gave us the wrong information. These are natural, innate qualities that go throughout every single kingdom in the world, in life. Even when the first single-cell organisms began to make the first tissues, they did that based on information. Now, that information was based on which cells were best able to feed themselves and released, I think it was cyclic AMPRO and some of the other byproducts of metabolism. And so other cells were attracted. And, so that's a whole other thing. But this life that we live is based on acquiring information and sharing. Acquiring and sharing. Right? So that would be the key to creating the ecosystem that you want to live in because as you learn better, you do better, and then you change your environment to what it is. So, for instance, right, me understanding that I live in Michigan, right, but I am an equatorial haplotype. I'm a solar haplotype, right? My bloodline is from the equatorial region, so I'm supposed to have a high amount of sunlight all the time for my body to function optimally healthy. For me to have adequate levels of vitamin D being produced, etc. So once I learned that, then it's, okay, cool. So instead of having regular cheap light bulbs all throughout my house, now I'm going to go and get the UVB light bulbs, the sunlight light bulbs, the UVA, the UVC, and I'm going to recreate as best I can inside my house lighting that's conducive to my body. Right? Whereas if I don't have that information and somebody says, hey, these light bulbs right here is held like a light bulb, like if a person knocks on my door, right? Pops open this trench coat, and my man got a whole bunch of light bulbs, like, yo, I've got these light bulbs right here. These light bulbs about $15, $20 each. You know what I mean? I can hook you up. What you want to do? If I don't have information, then in my mind, I'm looking at him like, yo, nigga, this nigga's nuts. I can go to the supermarket right there. I can go to Kroger and get me some light bulbs for 65 cents.
Yeah.
I can go get $2 for $1 light bulbs. But see, because I don't have the information. So with the limited information that I have, it is a better value for me to get 2 for $1 light bulbs as opposed to light bulbs that are 2 for $30. But once I have the information, now I can say, oh shit, these light bulbs is killing me. Like literally, these light bulbs are killing me 2 for $1. These light bulbs are actually killing me. They're creating a background, constant source of inflammation in my body. Like these light bulbs are literally killing me, not in a figurative sense. Like literally, they're slowly killing me. I have to get those light bulbs that's 2 for $30. Like I have to have those.
Well, let's get some information. Let's get some information out to the people. I done had you here down in 2 hours, so let's get some social media networking information out there so they can reach.
I'm on IG. I'm on IG, right? So I'm not everywhere. I'm on IG at Dr. Enqi, right? ENQI for those of you that don't know, right? ENQI, no U, right? ENQI, Dr. Enqi on Instagram, Dr. Enqi on YouTube, right? If you want to start watching, you can type in forward to the soul craft, right? Forward, right? Some people are like, yo, I can't find it when I type in forward. I'm like, are you misspelling forward? It's not forward like forward march. It's forward, FOREWORD. Forward to the soul craft, and just kind of watch those, dig in, catch up on that documentary. That documentary is kicking up dust. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people, I guess just by proxy, were comparing it to Hidden Colors, saying it's way better than Hidden Colors, more informative, more in depth. So it's created its own little firestorm all on its own. But as usual, I get a lot of college professors and people that have just dedicated their lives to studying various facets of this information for long periods of time. Those are the people that really give me a lot of kudos. You know what I'm saying? The people that really study spirituality long term. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people from around the globe. You know, it's just a good feeling when you see people that are really proficient in various areas relegated to what you're documenting. You know, start to recognize. So that's out. Part 3 will be out hopefully before Christmas. Dr. Enqi, the website, United Plates of America, right? United Plates of America, PLATES, UnitedPlatesOfAmerica.org, right? And I know a lot of people say United Plates of America. Where the hell did he get that name from? Plates, right? Plates like tectonic plates, the soil where the herbs and the food, the natural vegetation comes from, right? Plates like the plates in the gym when you're getting your body in shape, right? Plates like the plates you put your food on for dinner to feed your baby. You know what I'm saying? And for you other folks out there, you know, I know some folks out there put some other stuff on them plates they cutting up too. So, you know, plates, UnitedPlatesOfAmerica.org. .org. That's the website. You can go there. Books, herbs, detoxes. You know, for the sisters out there, you know, my upstanding, conscious, beautiful, you know, black woman is God sisters, right? You know, you got the upstanding, beautiful black woman is God sisters out there. Now, some of them got side niggas. I'm just keep it a bang with you. You understand what I'm saying? But I know these beautiful sisters. I know they really in love with their husband or their baby daddy or their main boo. You know what I'm saying? And so for those sisters, right, I understand that you have been forced into the side nigga community. You had to go out there and find you a little something because maybe homeboy wasn't taking care of that thing the way you take care of that thing. So we have a solution for that. You can go to dickgod.com and get those herbs that get your main boo back together again. And then you can eliminate the side boo because I know you really want to be loyal to the main boo. So that is a great Christmas gift. And guys, if you don't know where your lady is all the time, she might be with side guy, and you might need to step your game up. So just go ahead and hit thickguys.com up, get that thing together how it's supposed to be, and we in business. You know what I mean? So we got solutions for the family in a variety of different ways.
I hear you, man. Well, hey, look, I'm talking to you, dealt with you in a minute. You know, I ain't know you had, but we'll talk, man. Maybe we'll talk again or set up something, you know.
Of course, because I don't want people to think I disappeared. You know, listen. The platforms then got so centralized that people lost sight of the fact that everybody you see on another platform in today's age has their own platform.
Right.
But we've gotten so lazy, and this is what I'm saying when it comes to the information. We've gotten so lazy. Forget about buying a book, reading a book, enrolling in a class. We don't even want to flip to your YouTube page. Like, we just want to see you on this. We just want to go to one page and see everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, that's the way it was really working. They was trained that way, so therefore they still go their way until they repent and change into the new form.
I like that. Until they repent.
Repent. So, all right, man. Well, I appreciate the time. Hopefully the audience appreciate the time and stuff. Most people, I don't know if they fell off or came back, but the number stayed around 10 and stuff. So, I mean, people was looking, viewing.
All right. Well, it's going to be on your YouTube channel, right?
Right. Israel Doctrine.
Okay, good. All right. So I'll grab it and also put it on my YouTube channel. So we could do better. We could do better than 10. We're going to get better than 10 on my channel.
Yeah, it's probably going to show decently and this and that. But, most people was unaware that you was going to be over here. I rarely tell people what's going to happen. Because I done did it and, people come through trying to sabotage.
Don't show up.
People come through trying to sabotage.
Yeah.
Nah, don't. Nigga, you can't be on that nigga channel.
I work the same exact way. Absolutely. They'll mess up your stream or they'll mess up your chat room.
Yeah, so it's I got it, and now that I got it, it may go to 1 million. I don't know, but whatever numbers it was supposed to get, it has been documented. Now it can get the numbers.
Got you.
But you get to telling people what you're gonna do, and something goes wrong.
Yeah, we're gonna definitely do it again. Just hit knowledge up.
All right. So peace to knowledge. Yeah, I don't know who that is. I don't know where you've been. Because you've been over here.
Do the knowledge radio.
You've been over here so much. It's a crying shame. But yeah, peace to my brother Knowledge for helping getting this, set up. And we're gonna be out, y'all. We're gonna talk again. We're gonna
yes, sir.
We'll talk to you later.
Yeah, we're gonna get it in.
All right.
The student is ready. Teacher will appear. Peace.
Peace.